we're going to do an update. Osage Nation Casino, right?
Wow, okay.
So everyone been talking about casinos at Lake of the Ozarks. The Osage Nation Casino was first, but then we had talks of a private casino with Gary Pruitt and Bally's going on the ballot to amend the Missouri Constitution.
I was shocked that that failed during the last election period. I thought that was a shoo-in that casino was going to be voted in. It was voted down, didn't happen.
And so at that point, people were like, well, I guess that means no casino at the lake. Or they're like, what happened with Osage Nation Casino? Well, I told you last week about Dan Geyer's post online, right? And it kind of given you some updates on what had happened. And so I reached out to the city of Lake Ozark, and their reply, Mayor David Ridgely said, yeah, it looks like it's still at the federal level. And what he's alluding to was, according to this release I found, that the noted expansion to Lake of the Ozarks is at or ahead of schedule.
Wow.
The executive team is keeping up to date with not only the progress of the application with the U.S. Department of Interior through the Bureau of Indian Affairs and National Indian Gaming Commission. That's the step it's been at, right? They had to have that application, so they're staying up to date with that. And the nation is entering other phases of the required compact, permitting, and construction. And as far as construction goes for this particular project, their team says they're keeping a close eye on the cost to assure that the escrow, expansion, and emergency funds are well funded at or above forecasted requirements to keep, if needed, debt or short-term problems.
Wow.
Like, they are prepped and ready, and looks to be ahead of this. Now, if you're wondering what compacts, I alluded to that, entering, that would be agreements with the state or city with liquor, tobacco, and fuel, should they have those on property, or they call them EATs, economic activity taxes, or pilots, which is payments in lieu of taxes. And if you're curious what that could look like, well, in Oklahoma, where the Osage Nation has 7 casino and hotel resorts, in 2024, their compact paid $8.7 million to the state of Oklahoma, and another $12.3 million to the counties and cities that are home to Osage casinos and hotels. And so that's pretty drastic figures right now. The one at Lake of the Ozarks, should it come to fruition, it's worth noting that at the federal level with the Bureau of Affairs, they could only say yes to slots or video, whereas it would have to be the state of Missouri and the governor's office, from my understanding, that would sign off on table games. So we're talking about one location without tables. That could be a lot less drastically. However, when you look at the track record, their 2024 audit showed that all compact fees were paid and that a 6.2% surplus was their overall budgets. And so if you look at that, and then you look at what they're planning for Lake of the Ozarks, everything I would say would lead me to believe that they're going to build a casino at Lake of the Ozarks.
Well, and according to the information you got, they're ahead of their own schedule. So if that's the case, then they're definitely on track. And just recently, Osage Casinos reported they are debt-free on the property developments of their Pawhuska and Bartlesville casinos, with plans to expand the existing facilities in Sand Springs and Ponca City. I think all those are in Oklahoma.
And real quick,
wow.
What's worth noting is that first one was a $50 million project from 2023, and Bartlesville was $68 million from last year.
Wow.
And those are already debt-free.
Wow. That goes to show you, I mean, they're making money. They're obviously running this business pretty well if they're debt-free now. According to a prepared release, Osage Casinos distributed an additional $2.3 million to the Osage Nation for its government operations following a successful year of financial performance. They already distribute $75 million, so that this is on top of that $75 million. It's pretty amazing. Their CEO is Kimberly Pearson. She says, "We have made incredible strides toward a standard of excellence in all aspects of our business." It sure sounds like it. And it sounds like they're on track still here at the Lake of the Ozarks.
And they're doing the right things. I mean, their foundation, which is a 501(c), the Osage Nation Foundation, awarded over $500,000 in 2024 to worthy causes, and over $100,000 of that directly to Lake of the Ozarks nonprofits and worthy causes. And so I'll say it I've said it before, if anyone deserves a break and some support, I would say it'd be the Native Americans. So let's go Osage Nation Casino at Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, they seem to be very fiscally sound, and it also goes to show you that maybe casino is a good business to get into. You and I ought to maybe look into that.
Shoot, man, I think the Osage Indians have it covered. And remember, that property is in Lake Ozark. It's on that lot across the street, Highway 54, from Menards, right? So that,
right up from there.
that would be where that casino property would be.
It used to be the Denny's,
Yeah.
for people that are really familiar with the long time ago. And they've already torn that down. The former hotel kind of cleared that area, just
Yep.
kind of sitting there. And so it looks like that application's still sitting and they're up to date. And with that track record, I'm sure that means something to that Department of Indian Affairs and all of those different organizations and regulatory boards and all of that. I mean, when they're doing those things, especially when you're giving back to the Indian government as well, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure that carries some weight as well.
Well, and I did know you'd mentioned something earlier. They have something in lieu of taxes. Since the Indian nation is a sovereign nation, then from what I understand, they can't be taxed by, the U.S. for this. So in lieu of the taxes that the city or the county would make, they have another form of payment that kind of makes up for that.
Correct.
Which is fascinating.
And if you remember the last time that there had been open dialogue between the city of Lake Ozark and Osage Nation on this development was December of 2024, where Osage Nation was really trying to get a resolution of support from the city of Lake Ozark.
Yeah.
And it came down to a tie, and it lost in a 4-3 no vote. At the time, Mayor Dennis Newberry, and he said that it was because he didn't have enough information, didn't have any. And so some of those things you hear them working on, those compacts and those agreements, those are the things that I think the city of Lake Ozark's going to want to see and want to have those conversations, because if they can get a good deal with good agreements or good gifts back to the city of Lake Ozark to help, I mean, that could be a substantial amount of annual revenue.
And I don't think the other project is necessarily dead. Even though it failed on the last ballot, doesn't mean they're not going to try to put it on another ballot.
It will certainly, that will not be the last time you see that.
Absolutely. Neither one of these projects are dead.